everyone, welcome back to the Kural podcast brought to you by the BTDA. I'm your host Abisha, and today we have a very special guest from Bulgaria, fifth year dental student Kirubash. So Kirubash, could you introduce yourself to the audience for us, please?
Hey everyone, my name's Kirubash. I'm studying at Plovdiv Medical University, which is in Plovdiv, Bulgaria. And yeah, I'm currently in fifth year.
Struggling with your A-levels in science, maths or economics and worried it might cost you a place in dental school? Today's episode is sponsored by Harrier Tutoring, a support system that removes the headache and gives students the structure they need to hit top grades. Visit harriertutoring.com today. That's HARRIER tutoring.com.
So obviously we all know that studying abroad is a less conventional route into dentistry. Could you talk us through what led you to that path?
Yeah, so during sixth form, I had lockdown both times, right? So the reason I came in was because I didn't get the grades I wanted. Part of that was due to me first looking into this when I was in year 12. In the first lockdown, I didn't get my predicted grades. And then in year 13, when I didn't get the grades I needed in year 13. So initially I was meant to take a gap year, but I actually had an older sister that's already studying in Bulgaria, doing medicine. So I looked into just going to Bulgaria first to avoid the gap year and just get straight into dentistry.
Thank you. So we all know that we all live in Tamil households. There's a mix of expectations. What
Yeah.
was that conversation like with your parents when you first brought up the idea of studying in Bulgaria?
So I think for me, it's probably a bit easier than it is for a lot of other people because my older sister kind of already had that conversation with my mom because
Okay.
she also didn't get the grades she needed, but for the offers that she had. So my mom kind of just told her about Bulgaria because we knew some other people. And so then when I brought it up, my mom was kind of like in the middle about it, but then she said it would be better than me taking a gap year or anything like that, and going the undergraduate route. So she just told me go there.
Do you think that your family supporting your decision influenced your journey in any way?
Yeah, I'd say definitely because to be honest, I don't know if I entirely I was very scared about going to Bulgaria. Although my older sister was there, it was still such a big change because I was so used to living in London and like going out in London and like all my friends and everyone was there. So but at least I had my older sister there, so I think that was a big support as well.
So, how do you think you managed to go about finding your sense of community and belonging? Obviously, because you're studying abroad, right?
Yeah. So what I would say is I think a lot of people, when they think of studying in Bulgaria, they assume like you're going to be one of the only brown people here, but it's actually the complete opposite. I would say in my uni, just for anyone who was probably wondering, but I would say at least 80% of every year group is British students. And of those British students, basically all of us are of South Asian African descent, basically. But we're all mainly from Manchester and those areas, but there's also quite a lot of people from London as well. So I think it wasn't too hard to find community here because there's a lot of other people from similar backgrounds as me and
Mhm.
the people that I grew up with in London.
So, when you were moving from preclinical years, so like first year, second year, into the more intense clinical years, how did your experience at university evolve, do you think?
Well, I would say the first 2 to 3 years, like the first year especially, isn't really like specifically very dental focused. We do a bit of prosthetics at the end, but for the most part, we're usually just doing like other random subjects as our foundation kind of thing. But I think the main thing was it was a very big change to go from preclinical years to like clinical years, just because of the fact that not only are we now doing the dental treatments, but in our university we actually have to find our own patients for a lot of our things. So I'd say that was probably the main big shift that changed like how I go about uni life and everything.
hmm When you say you have to find your own patients, can you talk us through like the process? Because I don't think we have that in the UK.
Nah, you do not. So basically, in our uni, so we have a quota for basically all of our subjects. So for cons, we have like so in the first year, you need to do. I think for the first semester, it's like 10 fillings, and you. For me at the time, it was one canal. Second semester would have been 10 fillings and then 3 canals. And now for my first semester of 5th year, we have to do, they changed it now to, it was meant to be 6, but now 4 canals. And we had to also do 12 fillings and then also an indirect restoration and also a post. So the way we go about it is really difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like we have to basically, it's pretty much like we have to ask people out whenever we're out, when we're basically going out. And a lot of people do a thing called patient hunting, where you kind of just you go out and you talk to people, being like, "Hey, we're from the university. If you have any dental problems, you can come in for a free checkup, and we can give you dental treatment." Yeah, we usually go by that way. Sometimes we ask friends. Sometimes we ask other people. Very rarely as well, people will come to the dental faculty also just because they have dental problems and would like get it treated there. So that's how we usually go about it.
When you confront people in that way, do you think it's developed your communication skills in any way or form?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Because I think, especially because we're doing it in a different language, a lot of us were all kind of just like, yo, what are we doing here? And I mean, here we learn Bulgarian. We do technically get taught Bulgarian, but we don't need it that much. But when I got into my clinical years and you have to find patients and also like reassure them when they're on the chair, you do have to pick up like at least basic Bulgarian. But luckily, a lot of people do actually speak English here, so you can kind of get away with a bit of broken Bulgarian and then just speaking to them in English. But yeah, so it definitely changed the way I look at, speaking to people out of nowhere and stuff like that.
And how did you find building rapport with patients whilst you're also learning another language?
I'll be honest with you, Google Translate helps a lot. Google Translate does help a lot because I can usually just type it out. Whenever I can't say it, I just type it out and it's like, yeah, like,
That's
okay.
so long.
Yeah, I gotta be real. But another thing as well, in my first semester, actually, my patients were also a lot of students as well, like medical students at the university. So I did like a few fillings on one of my boys who had caries. And then on top of that, my brother-in-law, who was actually studying here, I actually did my first root canal on him. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was obviously intense because it's like someone you know personally as well, and it's your first ever time doing a root canal. But it went well. And I did another one on him after that on his one of his molars. So thankfully both times it went well. But obviously it takes a lot of trust, to let someone do their first ever root canals on you.
Yeah, of course.
If you're enjoying this episode right now and you find it really helpful, it would mean a world to us if you could just follow or subscribe wherever you're listening and share it with someone that you think that this would be really, really helpful for. That way we can bring on more and more guests and share more of our stories. Anyway, let's get back to the guest.
So obviously the working environment at your university is very different to universities in the UK. How do you think that shaped you as a future clinician?
I'd say so. With us, the way we have kind of gone about it is like when we do our clinical stuff, we have a nurse that will give us stuff that we go to in the room to like get our stuff. I'm not too sure how it's in the UK, but we don't have a nurse usually assisting us at the same time, if that makes sense. So like when you're mixing sealant or stuff like that, we usually have to get up and do it ourselves. But I think obviously it is definitely very tough, like very tough for a lot of us in the beginning, but we get used to it. And I've shadowed someone that actually studied at my university who's currently working in the UK for the last 5 years now. And I think watching him and how he like went about his patients and treatments and everything gave me a lot more confidence in the stuff we do in clinics as well.
Thank you. So obviously you're getting quite close to graduation now. What kind of future in dentistry are you most excited for?
Honestly, like I have tried to think about what I would specialize in, but from what I've heard from people who have graduated already, usually, is that general dentistry at the moment is what I'd mainly focus on because obviously I don't think I can really like hone down on anything until I'm actually like working and seeing a lot more patients. But I think general dentistry just sounds good at the moment for me just because it's a mix of everything, you're not like tied down to one thing, yeah.
And how do you think you're going to go about that post-graduation period? Are you planning to come back to the UK? And if you are, then what kind of process does that involve for people who don't know?
Okay, so as soon as you graduate, you basically like you leave. But we finish around, I think it'd be around May, June time, but our graduation is in late September, early October time.
Mhm.
And then after that we have some paperwork to do to like obviously apply with the GDC. So for us, because our degree is in the EU, we're automatically recognized. So we just have to like apply with the GDC. We have a few paperwork things to do, and then usually you start working where you're, cleared to start working around 3 months after that, something like that, like January, February time. So yeah, it's like that. But I know for the lower years, so people who are now in first, second year, they may have to do the ORE exam maybe at the moment. They do usually delay it every year. Because our year was originally had to do that, but then I think they delayed it twice now, so my year and the year below don't have to. But I don't know too much about the ORE, but yeah, I just know that's a thing for the lower years.
That's
Yeah.
fine. And so if someone younger in the Tamil community came to you about studying abroad, what advice do you think that you would give to them?
I would say it will be quite a lot of sacrifice, right? But at the same time, it is a very, very like great experience too. Like I've had a lot of fun in these last couple of years here. And to be honest, at first when I came here, like I was a bit worried, but definitely I feel like the experience is something I would have never got anywhere else. But definitely at the same time, be prepared because the degree is really tough, especially for dentistry, especially because like finding patients and our attendances are very strict. Our timetables are usually very packed, but enjoy it, but at the same time, be ready to work. Definitely be ready to work.
What do you think? Well, obviously, I know you haven't studied in the UK, but
Yeah.
from your experience in Bulgaria, what do you think the main differences in dentistry in Bulgaria and the UK?
So I'd say the main thing I know from what I've spoken to people I know that do study dentistry in the UK is that a lot of unis don't have a quota, I think, like for how much like treatment you need to get done each semester.
No, we do. We have it per year, but not semester.
Okay, so you have like a set amount that you need to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and usually with you guys, I doubt no one really fails the year because they didn't reach the quota, right? Because your patients are being provided.
Yeah, the patients are provided by the
Yeah,
uni, but you guys
yeah,
are
yeah,
by yourselves.
yeah. So for us, like, because we have to reach that quota each semester, it's like a bit intense because you're studying for exams you have, but at the same time, and you're also doing the treatments you need to do, but like you have to find those patients and deliver that treatment successfully. So I think it's a bit, and obviously you can imagine it's obviously quite a lot of stress because there are some people who like can't get the required like stuff out of the way in that semester. So they end
Yeah.
up having to take a year out. I'd say that's probably one of the biggest differences, I'd say.
Have you ever confronted a patient? Well, not a patient, but a potential patient, and they've said no?
Yeah, like it's like a very common thing that you have to like. I think someone called it rejection therapy or something like that, but something like that, I don't know. But you get used to it after a while. Like it's more like because I remember last year I was very worried about that, and I was very like, what am I doing? Like, how am I just out here? Like on a Thursday evening, when I could have just gone home after a really long day, and now just walking around asking people and stuff. But the thing that I feel like helped me a lot was when someone told me the more you do it, you just have to become like immune to the rejection. And I think because this year especially, I had to now just fully treat like people in the city and stuff, not any family or friends that I'd already treated most of them that I could. I got used to it very quickly. So then after a
Yeah.
while, I ended up getting a lot more patience because I just kept doing it so that I managed to finish my quota quite early in the semester this year.
And do you think the process of you having to go out of your own way, having to ask patients rejections, how has that built you as a clinician, do you think?
I mean, it definitely made a huge change. I mean, because I think in the first few years, like you learn stuff theoretically, right? And you know it really well that you can write an essay on it and stuff like that. But then I think when it comes to like when you actually need to know what you need exactly, you can identify in patients much quicker. And like on top of that, like because you've asked that patient to come in, that patient has come in because they trust you. You feel a lot more responsibility. Like you need to make sure their treatment goes well because this is your patient that you've brought in. So because of that, I do like, it makes you like want to go over every single possible step. Like when you get the radiographs, I talk to your professors and like go over every single step that you need to go over and then, yeah, just go with it. Yeah.
And when you confront the patient, because obviously you have to sell yourself, right? What Because obviously, as a dentist, you have to sell yourself. So, what advice would you give to people about selling yourself in an effective way?
I'd say the main thing is definitely be confident, first of all, like be very confident. And although it's really scary at first, as you start speaking to them, you can kind of tell the vibe when someone like needs a dentist and they're down for the free treatment, and like they look like, you have to look like someone they can trust as well. And you have to also be that person you can trust. Like you obviously can't just fake it and then they're on your chair and you're like completely baffled as to what's going on, right? So you got to be confident with what you're speaking, but that has to be based off like you actually knowing your stuff, you know?
And last of all, what do you think helps students thrive when they pick a less conventional path such as yours?
I think what happens is you go out of your own comfort zone, you know what I mean? Like you leave everything behind. And I think it kind of ties in a lot with a lot of our parents, right? You know, that kind of immigrant mindset of like being able to leave everything you know behind in order for a better future or for sacrifice. And I think growing up and seeing the sacrifices, you know, my mother had to do whilst we were growing up and stuff. I think a lot of that was embedded in me, that I knew that going to Bulgaria was something that I knew would be a sacrifice, like leaving everyone I know and stuff like that. But it was for a better reason in the future. And I think that's why a lot of us here, we all kind of share that common thing.
Well, thank you, Kirubash. And that brings us to the end of the podcast. So thank you all for listening today and tune in for next week's episode.